The Resident Evil series definitely has its fair share of hideous monsters and creatures. You've got the more common kind, such as the ever-popular zombie and the dangerous blind lickers, to the big boss monsters, most notably the T-103 and Nemesis. They all serve the same purpose, to serve as obstacles for your character to overcome, in order to survive the horrible ordeal that they find themselves in. Most of the time, they don't provide much challenge. They'll be blasted away with 1 or 2 shotgun blasts. Usually the issue you'll find with these creatures is deciding whether or not you want to waste the ammo on their sorry hides, and 90% of the time, you'll die to overwhelming numbers rather than one individual threat. However, there is that one monster, that one creature that doesn't fall under this umbrella. This variant of monster in particular has always stuck out to me. It is the one enemy that terrified me on my first playthrough due to their unparalleled speed, aggression, and power. And that enemy is the Hunter. More specifically, their original incarnation. They are in a league of their own, and their introduction couldn't have been any more perfect. At the point in the game where they are introduced, you've just survived your encounter with Plant 42, a bullet sponge that dwindles down your health with each smack of its mighty vines. Captain Wesker has now just tasked you with going back to the mansion, as you now have the key to access the remaining rooms left. Easy, you think to yourself. Zombies are now a cakewalk, the shotgun one-shots them with ease, and the Cerberus aren't much of a threat either. Heck, you might have already killed everything in the mansion at this point. You aren't the wiser. You open the back door into the mansion and scramble in, safe in knowing that you have what it takes to finish off whatever is left. But then, a cutscene plays. You are now looking through the eyes of a fast-moving adversary, seemingly tracking your scent. It pounces up the inactive elevator, something no enemy has been shown to be capable of yet, and runs closer, ever so closer to your position. It opens the garden shed door with its green, scaly hand, and continues down the path, right down to the door that you just went through. Then, you see it. A green, scaly, reptilian humanoid, standing upright, slowly walking towards you. You don't really know what to think. Is it dangerous? Is it not? What even is it? You don't want to wait to find out. When the cutscene ends, you raise your shotgun and shoot it. It lets out a yelp, falls on its back, and rolls back onto its feet. It sprints at you, catching you off guard. You try to run away, and before you know it, it decapitates you. And at this point in time, right here, as you stare at your dead character, you realize the game just changed. Before this moment, the fastest enemy you had encountered was the Cerberus. They weren't much of a threat, as one handgun shot makes them fall over. You could keep them at a distance, they were very easily managed even in groups. But these hunters, these beasts are different. Not only do they run, but they have 3 separate attacks that they can use. There's their normal swipe, which is their least lethal but is very fast, and their most common. Their second attack is jumping into the air, where they can hit you with the talons on their feet. This does a bit more damage and has the added bonus of them being in the air to avoid your shots. However, if you are fast enough, you can actually hit them whilst they're leaping, which will make them hit the ground stunned, allowing for another shot on them. Finally, they have their signature finishing move. Now, the common consensus is that they will never go for this attack unless you are on yellow caution or below. However, I can personally say from experience that there have been instances where they have used this move when I've been on full health. It is exceptionally rare, but they can do it. These 3 moves make them more unpredictable and incredibly dangerous in groups. They are also extremely resistant to firearms. If you aren't prepared, they will brutalize you. They barely flinch with a handgun and have a unique quirk where, after 2 successful shots on them, they'll duck the 3rd one, which will actually make you miss, and then they can continue their assault. The shotgun, once mighty, now takes 3 to 4 shots to take them down, and even the Colt Python takes 2 shots to kill these reptilian monstrosities. So you'd think, hey, why don't I just dodge them? And indeed you can. Their most common attack is a swipe with their left hand, meaning if you run on their right side, they'll miss. However, on your first playthrough, you really aren't going to know this, so your best bet will be to either knock the hunter down, which will allow you to pass but will leave the hunter alive, or waste the ammo to eliminate them completely. The thing is, your ammo will start dwindling really fast if you decide to deal with all the hunters you come across. These beasts now swarm the mansion, populating areas where the zombies used to be. Dealing with one of them is dangerous and resource intensive enough, but these rooms now have 2 to 3 of them. Depending on who you're playing as, you will also have a different different amount of total hunters in the game. For Jill, it's between 20 and 22. For Chris, it's between 25 and 28. The reason the numbers are different is because certain things you do will influence whether certain hunters will appear or not. Now, doing some quick math here, for Chris at least, killing every hunter in the game will require a minimum of 100 shotgun shells, give or take. To put that in perspective, Chris can pick up a total of 126 shells on standard mode. They really are that resource intensive and become the game's biggest roadblock. The implementation of the hunter in this game was genius. It completely turns the game on its head. For the first half of the game, you're learning it, its mechanics, its tips and tricks, and you're starting to get confident with the combat. Zombies are slow and can be eliminated with one shot with the shotgun. The zombie dogs recoil with every handgun shot, meaning that they are never really a threat if you bunker down and keep firing. And finally, the spiders can be ignored completely, as whilst they may be fast, they are very rare, being in only 2 rooms of the game, and both being optional. These hunters, however, are fast, they are deadly, and they are everywhere. You need to be faster on your feet and really think about where you need to go, as you will need to keep your exposure to them at a minimum, both for supply's sake and to keep your own life. You can't half-ass your trek through the mansion anymore. These beasts test your knowledge on the layout of the mansion as you scramble to remember where the remaining doors are and which routes will be safer compared to others. They changed the game from a slow, methodical survival horror to a fast-paced survival terror as you desperately run around the mansion trying to unlock the remaining doors that harbor your means of escape without losing your head along the way. Now, your final encounter with these monsters is in the caves. Once you run away from the boulder, it opening another path for you to traverse, you will encounter your final hunter. Just the one. You don't know this, but you'll never see hunters again. Once dealt with, and once you get past Black Tiger, the game finally calms down, back to the way it was prior to these creatures. Next time we have trouble, it will be with the Chimeras, but they never really get as stressful or deadly. If anything, they are just annoying bullet sponges that love to make you waste your ammo as they move both on the ceiling and on the floor. Since their original incarnation, the Hunters have appeared in many more games. They are, by far, the monster with the most representation in the series, aside from zombies, of course. Each game has a different variation of the creature. The reason for this is, story-wise, Umbrella and other organizations saw the Hunter as a very promising beast, so they kept iterating on it, trying to perfect its design. The other games that Hunters appear in are on screen now. As you can see, they are in a large amount of releases. My 2 favourite ones, apart from the original game of course, are actually in the Hunter's next appearance, that being Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. The first variant in this game, being Hunter Beta, instead of being dark green with red veins, are more a blackish green colour and absolutely covered in red tumours. One of their arms is also bigger than the other, which is the arm they mostly attack with. These hunters are first encountered in the hospital as Carlos, where they are seen killing a zombie, which is actually quite interesting. This seems to me Capcom explaining why the hunters all of a sudden populated the mansion in the first place, with zombies nowhere to be seen. The hunters killed all the zombies. Anyway, the hunters in this game are far more advanced. They have more moves, can dodge grenade rounds, can hang off walls to dodge attacks, and are genuinely just faster and more ferocious. To make up for this, they are far weaker, only needing 2 to 3 shotgun shells to take down. There's a second variant of the hunter in this game as well, known as the Hunter Gamma, which functionally are the same, except instead of decapitating you, they eat you, because they are big hungry boys and they need their sustenance. Now, the remake. These monsters have had a facelift in this game, sporting higher poly models and really cool sounds too, which, unfortunately, have been reused ever since. They actually have 2 different models in the game as well, with regular green and red and a rarer grey and red. Functionally though, they are the same, it's just nice to have variety. They also have a wider variety of attacks, one notable one being when they pounce on you and attempt to slash your face off. If you don't use a defense item, or you don't mash your control stick quick enough, they will kill you. They also have the most irritating attack where they do a double swipe on you, which will most likely make your character stagger far longer than you would like, which leaves you open for more attacks. Apart from this though, the hunters are actually far easier to deal with. For one, shooting them on their back with a shotgun no longer gives the hunters invincibility frames for when they're getting up, meaning you can just spam shotgun shells until they're dead. Second, they take far less damage to kill. 2 to 3 shotgun shots will do the trick, with the Magnum being an instant kill, except on very rare occasions. Lastly, there are far fewer hunters in the remake. On normal difficulty, Jill will have 16 hunters, whilst Chris will either have 17 or 18. That means that you'll be using far less ammunition overall, as no matter which character you choose, there are fewer hunters than the original. This is a blessing, however, as you do get far less ammo in the remake anyway. Whilst the hunters here are great in their own right, I feel like they have less of an impact overall compared to the original. But I do believe that's mostly due to the fact that the hunters were a very well-known enemy by the time Resident Evil Remake released, so there really wasn't much of a shock when they appeared. Add to that the decreased difficulty of taking them down, and you have an enemy that, while still cool and threatening in their own right, aren't as impactful. Although I have to say, their sounds can be outright terrifying. So yes, I personally favour their original incarnations from the original release. They just embody pure anxiety from me even to this day. They are fast, agile, strong, and with their one-hit kill attack, they are a serious force to be reckoned with. And the way that they were introduced was perfect, at a time where you felt like you were mastering the game and its mechanics. It's rare for a single enemy type to change how the game feels and plays, and even rarer for it to be successful and not botch the game as a result. That's why the Hunter in the original Resident Evil is my favourite enemy in the franchise. They are also extremely resistant to traditional They are also extremely resilient to